Hello and welcome to Walsall United WFC.
Hello, welcome back to Walsall United WFC, the long-awaited Player of the Season show. I've been waiting for ages for this. Ever since I messaged John about, a month and a half ago and said we need to do a Player of the Season show. Let everyone vote and we'll do a show on it at the end of the season. So a month and a half in the making this has been. If you're wondering, Charlie isn't at Old Trafford, I don't believe, unless she managed to get herself on a crane somewhere.
Prove it.
There you go. That threw straight back at me. I can't prove it. So, there we go. Yeah, I think everyone's looking forward to this one. There's so many people in the chat already. I'll get all your comments on screen in a second. But yeah, how is everyone doing? John, Charlie, Barry? Is everyone good?
Really good. Really good, thank you. Yeah, excited for the show tonight, for the big one.
Indeed.
Feeling good, Connor. Feeling good.
Barry and John are nodding. Barry, you've not got a suit on today. You weren't suited up like the last time.
You've had your party now. That's it until next year. Although quite how I top that suit. I haven't worn that suit, I don't think, in about 10 years. So the fact that it still fit in any way, shape, form, or fashion was entertaining. Hot as well, very hot.
Yes, I didn't envy you wearing that, certainly in the heat of that day as well. We're going to dive straight into it. We are going to do our Player of the Season. We're going to announce the top five a little bit later, in about 20 minutes' time. We're just going to wrap up the season and just do our favourites of, goal, game, moment, whatever, refereeing decision. Cover it all in the first 20 minutes, whatever we want to cover. So we'll just go around the house. I don't know which one to go first. Should we go moment first? We'll do moments. And then I'm going to get the panelists to relive their two nominees, and then we're going to go into to the top five a bit later on. But John, I'll come to you first because I have a feeling mine and yours are going to be similar in terms of favourite moment. We're going to split it slightly, by the way. We're going to do moment and game as two separate ones because they could be slightly different things. So, John, do you have a particular favourite moment, if you could pinpoint one?
Yeah, so this has just been thrown at me like about 2 or 3 minutes ago. So obviously, we always mention the Arsenal away Conti Cup. That was a great moment because obviously we beat Arsenal at their ground. It was a real tense game. It was really cold, and all of a sudden we just warmed up as soon as we scored that goal. Obviously, Charlie and Barry met those for the first time as well. And yeah, that was a fantastic moment. At that point as well, it was coming off the back of a good Christmas time. So it made you think, maybe we have actually turned the corner here, winning a top team. So we had all this belief as well as a fantastic moment within the game. So I'd like to obviously throw that one out there. But also just some of my favourite moments are just hearing Skinner talk in person as well when he comes over to the crowd or after the game when he speaks to you more of a one-on-one kind of thing and actually listens to what we say and gives his thoughts on the game, very honest, just having that closeness with Skinner, someone that we obviously listened to throughout the season on what journalists say and quotes and post-match and pre-match press conferences, all this kind of stuff. So actually be in a position this season where you can actually say a few things to him and he'll respond back. I think that's a good moment as well.
Yeah, definitely. Charlie, I'm going to be very disappointed if you don't say Old Trafford because you are there. So is that going to be yours? Or?
Oh, yeah, of course. That was a brilliant moment. I was thinking of really teeny tiny moments, which is sort of going away from Old Trafford, was after Zellum had already scored the 2 corners against Leicester. It doesn't sound like a big deal, but immediately after that, we went on the attack and then the ball was really slowly rolling out for another corner and the crowd and the players on the subs bench all reacted like we'd just been awarded a penalty in the final minute of injury time of a Women's UEFA Champions League final. Like, that's what the reaction was like. And I absolutely loved that. I thought that moment was brilliant because of our reaction, but also the players who were on the bench as well. That was really good. Yeah, Old Trafford was amazing. It was phenomenal. Really good game, really good moment, particularly coming back from behind. Because I think that game had been built up to the situation where it was inconceivable that they would lose that game. So to go 1 goal behind and then come back and win so convincingly, yeah, that was a really good moment. But for me, it will be that ball going out for a 3rd corner in succession against Leicester, and us and the other players thinking, "Oh my word, she's about to score a hat-trick of corners." And then the actual real disappointment when she didn't. Really put out by that.
Yeah, she really let us down by only scoring 2 corners and not 3.
Definitely. Go on, Barry. What's your moment?
Oh, God, I hate it when you do this to me, Connor, because it means I've got to think. I've spent the whole day not thinking, and there's just too many to think of. I could have done with 24 hours notice on this one, so I could whittle them down. There's so many. That third goal for Zelen in that corner was just unreal, because to get 1 in one game is entertaining. To get 2 just after we finish chanting she's going to score from a corner, and she does, because it's literally a couple of minutes afterwards. I mean, I'm not convinced she'll ever beat that in terms of just sheer magic, really, if there's any other word for it. Of course, there was the Russo goal against Arsenal. That one's always going to be a big moment. Being at Old Trafford for the first time for a women's game, absolutely amazing. But I think my moment of the season is going to be the Leicester game at Leicester. We won 3-1. And it was the moment when they came out, actually. It was my first time seeing United Women live. And I think that is my moment of the season, because from that minute, I was hooked. And it was something that I wanted to do. I wanted to go and watch more and more. So I think for me, that's my favourite moment, is seeing them all come out at Leicester and realising, yeah, I want to do this again.
Interesting. I think nobody's actually said, well, somebody has, I've just noticed somebody said it in the comments. One of mine that I was going to mention, what John Fry said here, in the Conti game when Fuso took over the announcing of Honor's goal.
Yeah.
That was quite something.
Yes.
If anyone has heard that. But the other one for me, in terms of moments, I said there's 2. I think City, when Russo scored against City in the first game to go 2-1 up, that was by far, I think, the biggest cheer, I think, we've had all season. But in another moment I just loved was Arsenal away in the Conti, when Martha Thomas and I can never remember his name, the Arsenal manager, were almost squaring up to each other, and all the United girls ran in, and Skinner was getting in there as well, because that to me just showed they've all got each other's backs. Like straight away, Tooney was in there, Skinner was up, they were all going for it, and that to me was just like, I like that, because we've been asking all season for a bit of fight for the players and for that kind of thing, and for them all just to run over to back Martha up, I thought that was fantastic. So I don't know whether Charlie was going to say something there.
No, I was just thinking about that crowd. What you were just talking about, sort of. You were talking about Russo's goal in the home game in the derby. There was a good one for me when we scored the second goal against Chelsea, the last game of the season. I know we went to lose that game, but when Tooney scored, that was a really, really good reaction. But also, if you look at the BBC Sport, they type up what's happening live. I think it was Emma. I can't remember her surname. I walked past her. She's been on here. I think she's called Emma. She put a comment that they then copied along onto there that just said, "It's fair to say that the Man United fans next to the dugout have just gone berserk," which I thought showed which sort of accurately described the reaction of the crowd. That was a moment for me, actually. That when that goal went in for the second time, and you just thought, "Hang on here, we could be on to something really, really good here." So the reaction there, that was a really good moment as well.
I think I agree with what Barry said. There's so many. We're going to move on very slightly. I'll change the question a little bit to favourite game then. Don't worry, if you've just joined in, we are going to get to our top 5 in about 10 minutes' time. We'll start going through who you guys have voted for in our top 5. But let's change it up slightly then to favourite game, because it's slightly different to moment, because it could be a game that we've lost. It could be Chelsea, on the last game of the season. But John, same question to yourself then. Do you have a favourite game that you could pinpoint this season?
I'll talk about the Old Trafford one, but that Chelsea, if it's asked me like what the favourite half was, I probably would say the Chelsea away, because that game meant so much. Obviously, even if we didn't win, we didn't want Chelsea to win. So I wanted Arsenal to win the league, obviously, just because, well, a couple of reasons, but mainly just to give us something to cheer and to try and maybe spoil Chelsea's party. And that first half, we really was looking quite decent. And I know we spoke to a few Chelsea supporters since then, and they was never too concerned. I bet you there was at half time, because even though they knew that they was likely to score, we had scored 2 at that point, and we went in at that point the better team. So I think that first half was a great moment. Nice sunny day as well, and good atmosphere across the whole stadium. I think that was an enjoyable game for the first half anyway. But I think the most for me, the best game has to be Old Trafford. Charlie, I think, has already touched on it. The fact that we came from behind as well showed a lot of courage from the players. And you want to see like how our players react from coming from behind. Sometimes you don't see that, or we're very much a confidence team. I think that game actually showed that they were there for the big occasion. There's a massive build up to it as well. And I think it was just a great day out. Lots of fans coming together. Fans who we chat to on Orford United main account and on Twitter who have never been to a women's game before. They was all there standing next to us. People like Callum, who I never even met before, standing next to us. I say Callum because obviously he's on the main account, so Orford United people may know who Callum is. And it's just it was just really good. It was just a fantastic moment, and it took a lot of preparation work to get to that moment as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think Ellie's saying the same there. Chelsea away, Everton at Old Trafford, and City at home. The 2-2 draw there. Charlie, for yourself?
I think looking back, I would always say, just for how it felt at the time, the away game, the Conti Cup game against Arsenal, but I think I say that every single time anyone asks me to say anything about what I've enjoyed most about the season. So I think I'll go for, big one was Spurs at home. And at the time, there was a lot riding on that game. We won it 3-0 really comfortably, but there was a lot riding on it because it looked at the time like City were going to be nowhere near because they hadn't got over their really difficult start. And I think Spurs were just edging us at the time, like might have been a point or two ahead. And there was a lot of riding on, like talking about, really evenly matched, and whoever wins this might be the team that goes on to get third. So there was a lot of, I felt really nervous as a fan going into that game thinking, crikey, if Spurs turn us over here, then they have leapfrogged us. And I think there was a bit of anxiety about that. And then actually, we just made mincemeat of them. They caused us no issues at all. Scored 3 really good goals and could have been more. So for me, that was one of my favourite games, actually.
Can I just jump in on that one as well? I want to change my favourite moment. No, let's create another one. Favourite song. Our Skinner is better than yours. Because at that point, Purdue was still out by some fans, and we just completely shut up the haters on that one.
There was the other one as well where I think Nat started the chant of "It's not disrespectful, we just don't like you." Because I think the assistant coach at Spurs had moaned that we chanted things and it was disrespectful.
That's in my head as well.
That was really good as well.
Yeah, I like that one. Yeah.
Go on, Barry. Take it away.
Well, unlike Charlie, I'm not going to move away from where it is. My first favourite game was Arsenal in the Conti Cup. Simple as that. And for so many reasons, a variety of reasons. The fact that we'd beaten one of the big clubs, the fact that, it was so late in the game, the banter we was having with their 10-yard keeper, all of that sort of jazz was fabulous. But also, it was the first time meeting you guys as well. So, I think for a variety of reasons, for me, for my inaugural season, it's going to have to be Conti Cup away. As far as favourite songs go, John, there's a million and one. Million and one you could go for, but I'm still going to go with Vilda Borissa's song.
Yes.
I love it. Although I do love a bit of Martha Thomas as well, because that gets the crowd going as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think weirdly for me, like I don't know, game wise, I'm actually going to obviously my first game this season, just because it was my first, will always be one of my favourites. But I actually think Villa, the 5-0 at home, purely because it was such a weird day because it was so foggy. You could hardly see the other side of the pitch. Every time we attacked down the left or the right in the first half, I had no idea who was on the ball. You couldn't see him. And it was just a really comfortable, easy win. In the end, I think, that it was part of that good run. And there's a lot of people talking songs now in the chat. This wasn't one of the categories, but
so many good ones.
Just quickly on song, actually, it was a song that was made up on the spot, actually. I think it was Nat that started it, as it usually is. It was Tottenham away, John. You might remember this. When obviously the Norwegians had come across, obviously, to see Maria and Bo Risa. And at that time, Bo Risa wasn't getting in the squad. So the chant came from Norway to see Bo Risa. And that was actually the loudest song of the day.
To see Bo Risa.
That was the one. So I'd actually have to stick with that in there, I think, just because it was so loud. And obviously you could bang your feet on Spurs away, couldn't you? Because it was like that kind of scaffolding-esque stadium. So that was quite cool. Right then, before we move on to the player of the season, which is why everyone is here, we'll talk favourite goal then. Now, this is going to be difficult because there's been loads. I'm going to ask you to pick a different one each. Let's mix this up a little bit so you can't say the same one. Barry, I feel for you because you're last.
Oh, no.
So, John, I'll let you
Here
go.
we go again.
John, I'll let you go first for this one then. If you could pick just
Okay.
one.
I'm just going to go by the actual strike then, not necessarily the meaning behind it or anything like that. I'm just going to go for one. It's already in the comments. It's Honor. Just cut it in from that left-hand side and just hit it sweet the nuts outside the box. Just something that you just don't see our fullbacks do that often. You know, in the past, you don't really see our fullbacks manage to get that high up the pitch, and it's certainly in like a shooting position. So to actually bury that one was an amazing goal. Obviously, I think there's other ones that's probably more meaningful. Maybe ones where I've personally cheered a bit more. And I'm sure these guys will say the rest. So I'm not going to say any more. But I think just like the sweetness of the actual kick itself, I'm going to go for Honor. Yeah.
It's hard to disagree with that one. Charlie?
I'll go with something different. So I said I'd make this decision on the spot, and I have, because I think I've mentioned the others, like the Olympicos. That's come up at another point. I really liked Galton's goal against Reading. So I liked the turn and through ball from Russo, and then Galton pretty much ran half the length of the pitch, took it round the keeper, and then slotted it in really nice. I quite like goals like that. Where you just leave the defence for absolute dead, like they had no chance of getting anywhere nearer. And I think was that the second goal or the third goal? I can't be quite sure. I can't remember. If anyone remembers, I can't remember if it got us back in the lead or not. Second one, so it got us back in the lead. And I remember because my brother's got really into women's football since I have, and he, whenever she scores, he just WhatsApps me and goes, "Why isn't she playing for England again?" He calls her Leah Galton. Goldo. So yeah, he was loving that one. So I'd go for that one. So it's different. I think people tend to go for like the 35-yard worldies, which are always fun. So I thought I'd go for a bit of a different one. Yeah, that one for Leah, I think, against Reading.
That's an interesting shout from John Fry very quickly, Barry, before you jump in. The honour goal that wasn't given. I think if that, which is correct, it does technically count because it should have been in. I think that's a good shout as well. Go on, Barry.
Well, I've said mine already. Was Zellam's third, that second corner against Leicester. But I think actually I'm going to change that. So I had a little think since then. And I'm going to go Russo against Spurs away.
Oh, yes.
Never on her backside. What a fab one of those. Take that, Connor. I've just nicked Connors. He's not happy. How does it feel? Leave me till last. That'll teach you. Who's yours, Connor? What's yours?
Well, I don't know now. Now I'm having to think. I thought there's no way you're going to say that. Oh, crikey. Because my second one was honour against Reading. So,
got to pick a different one, though, Connor. Your rules.
I'm going to have to now. I'm torn between two. I think Tooney against Leicester. I think somebody mentioned in the chat earlier on in the season that was a fantastic goal. I'm actually going to go slightly different though and say Martha Thomas against Chelsea, because the delivery is right on point. It's right on Thomas's head. Thomas glides it, beautiful header, puts us in the lead against Chelsea away. So I'm going to go with that one just because of what it felt like and the importance of it and everything else. So. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with that one. But it would have been Russo at Spurs, but I wasn't allowed to have that one.
Can we give quick special mention just to, even though we got knocked out the Conti Cup, Jackie's absolutely filthy back heel to Boarisa, who scored from an angle that she had no right to score from under the circumstances. That one, special shout out to that one as well.
So many. I mean, even there, Russo's got in the at Old Trafford. You know, the 2 goals she scored there, fantastic goals. So. There's quite a few when you're talking about goals, which is good, you know, because otherwise it'd be quite boring if we were sat here going, "Oh, we've only got 1 or 2 to choose from." We've managed to pick about 7 or 8 there, so and you can still go for quite a few. There's another one from John Russo in the derby, so we could be here all day picking goals. Right then, we'll move on to. I'm keep putting it back, adding to the suspense here. But just to remind the people watching who we all voted for, I'm trying to get the list up now because I can't even remember off the top of my head. So I voted for Honor and Zellam. John went for Russo and Honor. Charlie went for Russo and Earps, and Barry went for Russo and Toon. So before we reveal our 5th place, and who these guys, well, I'll ask you 2 questions in one here, just very quickly before we do reveal our 5th. John, your 2 choices, Russo and Honor. You sent it very late, which was quite frustrating because I'd made the graphics by that point and I had to change them. But yeah, Russo and Honor, and who you think is going to make the top 5. If you just want to briefly explain your decision on those 2.
Yeah, I think Russo was pretty much set in stone for me. And I know strikers always seem to get more applauded than defenders, but I do genuinely think if you're one of our leading goal scorers who's done so well, worked so hard, hasn't really done too much wrong, and being the main striker, when you are a striker, I think, you're pretty much certain to be in my top 2 at least. And then it was tough because I thought of Katie as well. I think what's wrong for me was out of those 2 was just because I think Anna always gives a 7 or 8 out of 10. And I think Katie at times gave a bit more than 8 out of 10, but also at times maybe dropped to maybe a 6 or 7. So I just went with Anna's consistency. So that's kind of where the angle I kind of came from there. So yeah, I would have had Zellum in the top 5. I would have had Mary Earps in the top 5. And I would have had Ella Toon in the top 5. Mary Earps, I think, has had the best season that she's had for Man United. But I don't think it was up there to be the top 2 or 3 because, I think she still did make a couple of mistakes, but still a fantastic season. I mentioned Katie. Ella Toon has probably the best 4 months of any WSL player, but gradually just faded away. So yeah, those would be my 5.
Sorry, I'm clicking on all kinds of things here. I've just opened up my calendar and my mail at the same time. I'm not even on the. Someone say something. I don't know who's next on screen. Charlie, it comes to you. So your 2 choices. You went for Russo and Earps. Just very briefly explain your decision on those 2 and who you think has made the top 5.
I went for Russo because she was world class this year. Scored lots of important goals, scored goals against the old fashioned, what would be the top 3. So it wasn't just stat padding against lower down the table sides. I thought she's got so many facets to a game. She can receive the ball to feet really well. She can release other players. She wins the ball in the air, both offensively and defensively. And she frightens defenders. And she's still young, which should frighten opposition sides even more. So I think she was brilliant this year. And I think it was at Old Trafford. I think was it Alexi who came on after the Old Trafford game, and or it might have been him, or might be giving him credit for you, Connor. Where when you see a players, women's sides on a massive pitch like Old Trafford, you can actually see who are the world class players and who are the good players. And she was world class that day under immense pressure. So that's why she was just a shoo-in for me. And then I went for Mary. She had tricky moments in the season. I think against Everton, she put her hand up and said she'd made a mistake and she didn't sweep up that free kick against Tottenham, and perhaps she should have. But I think, she got 10 clean sheets. She saved points for us over the course of this season as well. So the game against Arsenal away that we probably should have won, but that they had lots of really good opportunities, Arsenal, and she was making point blank saves all over the place. I think we've seen massive improvements from her with regards to how she commands the 18-yard box. Like, I never feel worried. Do you remember last year how horrible it used to be every time the opposition got a corner?
Yeah.
Like, literally every time. Whereas now, I'm not bothered about it at all. I think if we look at how many goals have been conceded from corners, I think we're the least, potentially. And that's because she comes and she wins the ball pretty much every time. And sort of, I think her best period in the season has probably gone most unnoticed because it was at the back end when we weren't winning games, but we also weren't conceding goals either. So it shows the job she was doing there. And I think alongside Zellum, she also led things really well. She was vocal on the pitch at times when we were perhaps struggling under the pressure of expectation, which is why I went for her.
Okay.
Go for it. And Barry, your 2 choices. I think I forgot already. I keep reading them out and I still forget. Russo and Toon you went for, and who you think has just about made the cut.
So, I mean, it's already been, the argument for Russo has clearly been made already, but I just think she's been superb all season. She has had, for me, a breakout year for her. And I think she has shown 100% just how good she can be going forward as well. So not just in terms of going forward on the pitch, but going forward for Man United as well. So, yeah, I think Russo, she scored lots of goals. She's been involved in a lot of goals. And I think they've been important goals as well. When we've needed her, she stepped up and she's been there. So for me, that was a shoo-in for Russo. And she's my top tip to win it all this evening. Ella Toone, I mean, you'd have to be Stevie Wonder not to have seen how good she was in the first half of the season. Second half of the season, she did drop back a little bit. She wasn't quite as dynamic, perhaps. I think she was good at getting the ball in terms of assists again, in terms of really just, with Toone, you just get the feeling that anything can happen. So she doesn't need to have a 90-minute stonking game. She just needs 5 minutes and she could change a game, basically. So I think for me, that was why I went for Russo and Toone. And I kind of think really they've just sort of made Old Trafford and the Lee Sports Village home, much as Doctor Who did in Gallifrey, to be honest with you. So for me, 100% those two are our winners. The other three that I think we might make it in the top 5, Onabacha, Leah Galton and Mary Earps.
Oh, did you want my total top 5 as well? Sorry, Barry.
Go for it if you want. If you want to give you a little.
Oh,
Don't have to apologise to me. I didn't ask.
sorry, I always forget. I always forget what the question is. Yeah, Russo, Earps, Toone, Honor, Zellum. I might have just quickly, like John Fry's putting there about Mannion. If Mannion had been fit, she would have been probably one of my top 2. To be fair to her.
Yeah, 100%.
Can I introduce a new topic just to keep everyone in suspense again? I just want to shout out Mannion. So, like, our best signing this season, you could potentially say Mannion in there. If we just wanted to start that one.
John Norman in the comments also talked about Blundell. He might have had a couple of shaky moments defensively, but she got 5 assists this year. Did Hannah? So she did a bit getting forwards.
Yeah, and that's what
and
we're
also,
doing.
Sorry, John. Just going to say, Sporty Chatbox has put in there as well, and I think it's a very good point about Skinner and the staff not rushing Russo back at the start of the season. I remember being in there at the Leicester game thinking, why ain't she starting? She's one of our best players. And actually it was the right thing, and she's made it all the way through the season. So I think that's the right thing to say there. Fair play there.
It's quite a few games, actually. There was quite a few games before she actually started, and, you know, obviously Toone was playing full side for 3 or 4 games, wasn't she? So, yeah, it took quite a while for Russo to actually be bedded back in.
100%. Right, I think we've kept people waiting long enough. We're 28 minutes in, so we will go into the top 5. For all you very, very quick mathematicians out there that will see the percentages, this will not add up to 100% because there are obviously other players that got voted that have not made the top 5 percentages. So that's how we've done it. We've had about, I can probably tell you the exact number at some point, about 240 odd people, I think, when I last looked, voting. That's from different ways. We've had people on shows with panelists. All of us hosts have done it. People who watch. We've had people inbox us. We've had people that we speak to about United give their vote. We've had absolutely all kinds of people involved in All for United voting for this. So this is technically voted for by everybody. So like I just said, for all you quick mathematicians, this isn't going to be 100%. There's about 4 players, I think, that got votes that have not made the top 5. So, right, I'm hoping this works. And I'm trying to get my tweet ready at the same time. So
It's very exciting.
I know I'm doing so many things at the same time here. So in 5th place with 8.6% of the vote, it just had to be our captain, Katie Zellum.
El Capiano.
So yeah, let's discuss. We'll discuss this for the next 10 minutes or so. Katie Zellum,
I bet she'd be dead pleased about that picture you've used.
I was going to say, can we discuss the photo?
Right. So can I just clarify? I did just say I'll shout him out as well. I did not make the graphics fully. A guy, Tom Oxland, I will shout him out because he did very well on these graphics, I feel. Put all this together in his own time. So, Tom, if you are watching, I think you are. Really appreciate you making these. He's a Birmingham fan as well, so we've got to show him some love. They've had a tough season. But yeah, and Marty, in answer to your question, yes, you did. I added your votes on about 2 weeks ago. So yeah, 8.6%. I I'll just open it up. I've got no questions off the back of it, but yeah, discuss.
I'd say I'm not surprised, but also surprised, if that makes sense. Because probably I'd imagine a lot of what she probably does well can go unnoticed. And you naturally gravitate towards the flair players, don't you? But I mean, obviously she's scored goals this year. She's assisted. I think she's 5-5. So she's contributed to 10 goals across the WSL across 22 games. That's almost one every other game, which is really good for someone who's had to sit quite deep at times and played at centre back here and there. So I agree. Is it TJ Chet said 8.6 seems quite low for fifth, but it might be the ones at the top. I imagine Connor have got high percentage.
I think as well, without giving some of it away. So 8th, 7th, and 6th are all very, very close. Like they're within 0.5%. So literally 1 or 2 votes is between 6th, 7th, and 8th. So that's why it's 8.6, because it's spread across 4 players that have covered nearly half of the vote percentage. So that's why 8.6 might seem a little bit low. But yeah, it's because it's covered across 5 or 6 different players.
I think she's probably improved as well. Like Marcia said, she's not going to notice. I think particularly for me, for the end of the season is when she's really kicked on and perhaps stood out more when other players have maybe started to struggle a little bit.
I did have her name written down. I went for Earps in the end. See, I'm trying to guess what other people are thinking, not what I would have necessarily thought. I think this is Katie Zelem all over, isn't it? You know, she's not necessarily noticed as being the person at the very top that's going to change every single game. She's not noticed as the person at the bottom that doesn't deserve to play football. She's just calm, consistent, does her job, and hence why she gets noticed in the top 5 for me. Can't argue with it.
And John, for yourself?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not surprised, really. I know that the fan base at the start of the season was probably a little bit too harsh, but I think throughout the course of the season, she fully deserves to be in that top 5. And even if you just do it by process of elimination, half our centre-backs was injured for half the season. Full-backs had a shout of being in there, which is why Honour's in there. Midfielders, Jackie hasn't played that many games. It took a while for Barbicha to get started. Hayley Ladd had a shout to be in there. Stanley Force obviously being injured as well. So naturally, Zelem was going to be ahead of the defence and the midfielders. And attackers-wise, I think Russo's been consistent all season, whereas the rest of the strikers haven't been. So I think for me, just looking at it that way, Zelem's got to be in that top 5. But yeah, she's been great. And I've said, she might not be the best CDM, she might not be the best box-to-box, or she might not be the best centre attacking midfielder. But I think as a combination of all 3, she showed that this season that she can contribute the goals. She can assist, score, and also play at the back and get the ball off the defence and make things happen at the back as well. So fully deserved in that top 5, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. I will come back around and say who just missed out. Obviously, I'm not going to say now because it might give away who potentially is in the rest of the top 4, but I will say who has just missed out. I'm pretty sure it's one vote that swung it for the 5th and the 6th. So I will come back to that at the end. But yeah, I agree with what's been said. I think, yeah, I think she is our most minuted, if that's even a word, outfield player this season. 15 goal involvements. You look at key passes, you look at goal creating actions, all these kinds of things. She's been amongst the best in the WSL for that. So, yeah, I personally think it's correct. So, yeah, that's it. Our 5th. We'll talk a little bit more then about our top 4. So you're gonna have to bear with me while I start.
Any guesses?
The next one.
Barry, who do you think's 4th while he's doing this one?
Well, now that Zelem's made it in over Earps, and I'm guessing what other people have done, it's all of a sudden it's turned into like X Factor when you're trying to work out which one of the bottom 2 is going to go. So for me, it's between Batcher, Gorton, or Earps, and I think for 4, I'm going to go Earps, baby.
I thought you did that.
Charlie, John, have you got any thoughts on that?
I see from I don't like this at all, actually. Because that's why when I wrote my top 5, I cheated and put / people. So it was 8, really. It was 8 within the 5. Yeah, because someone's going to miss out. I think Russo and Tooney are going to be in there somewhere. So Earps, Honor, or Galton are going to miss out. Because Galton's also got 8 goals and 3 assists. So
Yeah.
that might have gone under the radar. I'm going to go Honor. I think Honor's going to be 4th, but we'll see.
See, controversially, I think Connor's going to miss out altogether now.
Oh,
that will be controversial.
that doesn't mean that Barry doesn't rate her, though, people. That's
Absolutely.
no.
What do
She's
you
got
reckon,
feeling.
John?
I agree with Barry, Ellie, and John Fry. I'm going to say Mary Earps as well.
Okay, I will say then. So Katie Zellum obviously had 8.6. Like I said, I think 6th place had about 8.2 or something like that. It was ridiculously close. 4th place on 9.7. So again, you're talking 1 or 2 votes between 5th and 4th. Trying to share the right screen. It is our goalkeeper, Mary Earps, with 9.7. Yeah, I think somebody said earlier on 10 WSL clean sheets. You could argue one of the most improved players this season. Really has cemented that slot and cemented it on the England. From the Lionesses stage as well. So we'll discuss Mary Earps then. How do we feel on that one?
Can I just shout out the graphic designer again for some brilliant images? Captain competitions here needs to. Brilliant.
Do you not think that's
He's
Mary
never going
Earps
to do it
all
again.
over, though? That's her all over, though, isn't it? When she's
Yeah.
annoyed, she's doing that. When she's happy that we're winning, she's doing that. When we score a goal, she's doing that. And when she's just telling them what to do, she's doing that. I think that's beautifully representative of her. She was my 2nd place, I think. Just because also she's been dead busy, comparatively. Like, she's quite a busy goalkeeper. I think considering that we came 4th this year, so 4th best side. Which is probably why she maybe stands out a little bit as well, because she has to maybe do more than Zinsberger has to do or Berger has to do. But yeah, I think it's been a bit of a, because she's 28, 29, isn't she? Which is still relatively young in goalkeeper years. It's when they tend to hit their prime, and I think you can see that's happening. And clearly Serena Weigmann can see that as well with regards to sort of stating she's her number 1 for the Euros, which is good news. But I wouldn't have been surprised. I'm not surprised now, and I wouldn't have been surprised if she came 2nd or 3rd either, because she's also just a fan favourite, isn't she? People really like her. Just big Mary Earps fan.
She's been amazing. 10 clean sheets, hardly concedes, hardly makes a mistake. She does make them, obviously. We all do. I think she's been absolutely brilliant. She's moved from being a contender to number 1 for England, took it over. Ellie Roebuck, I know she got injured, and so that gave Mary her chance, but she took it. She's taken it, she's run with it, and like she does with most things, she's held on to it. And that's what we want to see her do. So,
held on to it, just like
see what I mean? It's all up here, John. It's all up here. So, I think, absolutely deserved. Pleased that I called that one. That's for sure.
Don't forget, just think of where Mary Earps was at the beginning of the season. I'd say 40% of the fan base wanted Baggers to have the first opportunity, in the starting 11. And now you look at the end of the season, and she's probably the first choice for England and first choice for United. And she's just so really, really calm and composed, isn't she? And, when she comes out to the fans at the end, she's one of the best with the fans. And I think throughout the season, some of the players get more relaxed around us, all the new players, and obviously they're really good with the fans as well. But Mary obviously been there for 3 seasons now. Yes, about my 3 seasons, yeah. She's just really welcoming to us, and I always just think about that final game where she couldn't give enough goalkeeping gloves away and all this kind of stuff. And she's just a brilliant all-rounder. Great on the podcasts and like interviews, post-match press conferences and all that kind of stuff, interviews. But I can't say anything else that Charlie and Barry hasn't already said.
Do you think as well, sorry to jump in, like I've put John Fry's put on there about Sophie pushing us to be better? Because obviously the last couple of years she's had Rambo behind her and Fran Bentley, who both are going to be wonderful goalkeepers. They're still really young. But actually having someone come in who was in the WSL, who was high, I know Bristol went down, but she was highly thought of, Bagley, who's been there, done that. that we talk about. You need two really good players in each position, one in case one gets injured, but also so they push each other on a little bit. And so maybe that made her look over her shoulder and know that there's someone desperate to take her place and that would perhaps be ready to do so should she slip up.
All the previous season, we kept on saying, oh, Mary, not great with the feet, this, that, and the other. She's a better shot stopper than she is with the feet, and this, that, and the other. And people are saying, well, let's give Bagley a chance because she's better at that. I haven't heard anyone mention in the last 9 months that Mary can't kick a ball or can't do anything like that. That's just gone now. So again, something else. We talk about Katie Zelem improving throughout the season. That's something that Mary, one of Mary's biggest flaws. It hardly gets mentioned now. So it just shows how good she's done there as well.
I think a lot of that, yes, I think there could be an element of Bagley pushing her to do better. But also, I think there's an element of just her pushing herself to do better. It's just the sort of person she is. She's just got this drive that she's going to be the best. And I just think there's something about her that just says, I ain't taking no mess here. I'm just going to go for it. This is what I want. This is my goal. And off she goes. She's been absolutely brilliant. Think back to that Arsenal game. It's the one we drew 1-1 in the league.
Yeah.
And I just remember there was a save that I wasn't sure if she'd made because it was all the way down the other end of the pitch and we couldn't really see it. And then we saw it run onto Sky Sports to have a look. And what a save it was. She's got brilliant shot stopping. She's got great thinking, good distribution. I think, if I could, I'd put her in the men's team right about now, I think, because she is just amazing. Absolutely amazing.
100%. I've just put it in our little private chat here that obviously I'm the only one here that knows the rest of the top three, and I'm nervous just bringing them up. I can feel this just watching people in the comments guess who's going to be in the top three and what order it's going to be. I'm getting nervous now.
I'm nervous because I don't like being wrong.
I think just to throw my 2 cents in on Mary, I think I've been a little bit critical of her this season, but I think that's because it's minor things with Mary. I think she can be such a good world-class keeper, probably one of the best in the league. She's shown what she can do. It's these small little micro errors in games. But like we said before, what a season she's had. Somebody mentioned earlier about defending set pieces and things like how comfortable she is coming out for the ball. That's what I love keepers that do that. When anything in your 18-yard box for me, within reason, should be the keepers. There's no reason why you shouldn't be going for that. So the fact she does that, very commanding. She's always the loudest on the pitch. You're always going to hear her. So I can't disagree with Mary coming in fourth. And just quickly on this point about Sophie pushing her on, that may well be true, but you've still got to have something within you to be pushed on anyway. Like, yes, Sophie coming in might have pushed her on a little bit, but she's still got to improve. Like, just because if we sign another striker, Russo's not automatically going to go to a 20-goal a season striker straight away. That doesn't that. You've still got to be, make that improvement yourself. So, I think it's full credit to Mary on that one.
Yeah, it won't purely be that, will it? You've got to be, like you said, intrinsically motivated as well.
I do agree with you, though, Charlie. At the end of the day, if you know there's nobody there who's going to take your place, that may not drive you on to do what we've just said, which is to go and do the training and get yourself into that position where nobody can take over you. So I do think it can be a very important thing to have, that knowledge that there's somebody else there who can take your place away. Whereas if you're just guaranteed that position, why bother?
Everybody in the comments just wants to know who's third now.
I know. I can see a lot of it. I'm gonna.
Someone major is missing out here, like someone major.
Completely.
Well, I'll lead the way. Galton's going to be third.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think
Galton's
going to be third.
Really? I think Honor's got
Galton third, Tooney second, Russo top. There we go. I've gone all in.
Who's everyone saying here? So Ellie's saying Leah.
I'm saying Honor.
Sporty saying Honor.
Yeah, I was Sporty.
John saying Russo third. That's an outsider because no one else seems to agree with that one in the comments. John certainly doesn't.
Imagine if she is.
Toon third.
If it is, I'm leaving.
Russo, I can't even keep up with all of these. Honor third.
I'm going.
So right, I'll put everyone out their misery, and I'll share the next screen while I get the tweet out. So in third place, there's a bit of a jump when it comes to percentages now. So Mary was on 9.7. This person's on 18.1. So almost double the amount of votes. So in third place, one of my votes on
Oh,
on 18.1. I don't think too many can disagree with this. Well, personally, well, I'm going to say that because she was one of my two. But yeah,
80% can disagree with it, kind of on looks of it.
Yeah, all right. But just to start my 2 pence on this one, I think she has been our most consistent player. If you're looking at across a whole season, I've said this all season. I don't think she's dropped below a 7 or an 8. So I don't think you could look past that. She's been very involved going forward. Her defensive stats are the best in our squad in pretty much every single area of defending. So, yeah, we've got to be we should be already, but we're absolutely trying to break the bank to keep hold of it. But yeah, that's my opening discussion on that one. Does anyone disagree? Does anyone think that this is the wrong decision here, or where does everyone stand on her in third?
Well, on a personal note,
Oh, here we go.
that was who I put in third. But again,
Yeah,
we're
but
trying
who
to
did you
guess
put
what other
before?
people have done.
You could
I
have,
agree.
she could have been. You could have announced her as first, and I wouldn't have gone, "Oh, that's a travesty." Because you've said before, like she's minimum is always a 7 out of 10, and then when someone's always that good, what can sometimes happen is on votes like this, they get overlooked. Yeah, like Marty just said, how can you disagree? Like you literally can't. Like she's played every minute. She's brilliant defensively. So many of our attacks down the right start at her. So she may not have the big assist number next to her name, but she creates so much going forwards, and had really good link up play this season. I felt like with Tooney when Tooney had to be further out on the right hand side, but she's just amazing. She's going to be a Ballon d'Or winner, isn't she, in a few years' time? Yeah, just out of this world. What a phenomenal footballer.
I agree with Marty. Sorry, Barry, I just jumped in as well.
Oh, you
I
go for it, sunshine.
I do agree with Marty, because if you've got one of the best fullbacks in Europe, she's a fantastic defender and she contributes more than any other fullback going forward as well. It's just so hard not to get her in your top 3 or top 5. I had a second favourite. She was my second choice. Yeah, I think third's probably about right. It's obviously going to be, well, you think it's going to be Russo or Tooney in the top 2, and the only reason why I'd have put Honor ahead of Tooney is because Tooney's, I think, drifted off towards the end of the season, where I don't think Honor has. So I would have put Honor as second, but I think third, behind Russo and Tooney is still fair. So yeah, for me, Honor's had a fantastic season, and 18% of the fan base agree.
Yeah, I think Honor's been amazing. Absolutely unreal. And there's a reason why she's seen as the best right back in the country. So, I don't think anyone can argue with that at all in the slightest. She's been brilliant. She works hard down the right-hand side. She goes in for every tackle. Her throwing ability isn't bad either. She's just a complete package. And there's a reason why we'd all be very upset if she decided to leave. So, 100%, I don't think we can argue with Honor at third at all.
Don't you think as well? Like, because again, she's really young. Like, she's a really young player. Her mentality, like, she's so composed, she's so calm. Like, she can get the ball, which looks like in a really uncomfortable position when we're being pressed in bits and pieces, and she can get the ball really calmly without hoofing it or losing it or kicking it out unnecessarily. She can play it out really well, which again makes it even more impressive. Mm-hmm. She's so young and she's so calm and collected on the ball. And you can see why she is so sought after. And she's in a position where really she should be able to ask for whatever she wants going forward. She's brilliant. And again, Marty said on there about, defensive players don't normally get picked up to be first. And she's right. You think about Manuel Neuer, the number of times he could have won the Ballon d'Or but didn't because he's old keeper. I think she's spot on there. So she might not end up getting the plaudits she deserves as the season goes on, but like I said, we know how good a footballer she is in every way, really. And fingers crossed that the rumours end up just being rumours and somehow we keep hold of her.
100%. Like I said at the start, I'd be breaking the back. I can see everyone in the comments just going, quick, get to the next one, go to the next one.
I know, it's like one of Boris Johnson's pandemic ones. Isn't it? Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Goodness me.
But I do agree on that last point. That was the point I was going to bring up, that Marty said that defensive players don't usually get the recognition they deserve, because I actually think if you're looking at a player of the seat, for me, Honor would be number 1. purely because she's been the most consistent for the whole season. But because she's not put up, the amazing numbers that a couple of other players have put up, she's not going to get that full recognition for that. But yeah, I think I agree with Charlie. I really hope these rumours are not true. There's going to be some truth in it, and Barca are going to be sniffing around. But I just hope that we can do something to.
Just before we move on, Connor, just in case anyone's joined us late, can you just tell everyone how many people voted again and how they voted and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, so I'm going to because there is going to be some confusion about this when they see the numbers. So I'm going to tweet the pie chart that's got every name on there, so you realise why the percentages are like this. But yeah, about 246 was the number. So yeah, although this is why it's a little bit close. Like I said, there's about 2 or 3 between each one. But yeah, that's how we broke it down. Everyone had 2 votes. Put them all into this list, and I've literally put a pie chart together of how. What's the percentage split, and this is what we've come out with. So, as you can imagine, then, because somebody's going to miss out. There's a lot of people in the comments trying to speculate who that is. Somebody is missing out on this top 5 that a lot of people would believe is going to be in or should be in there. Now, obviously, when I reveal who's second, I think it's going to be pretty obvious who's coming number 1. So we'll just keep, if we can, we'll try and just react to second. Right, I'll just ask you that, John. Top 2, what are you thinking before I bring it up?
Yeah, it's going to be Russo and Tooney. Probably Russo first. And he does me the Golter's mistakes, but I remember when we first started this podcast, or even before we started this podcast, it might have been on the Barmy Army podcasts back 2 years ago. People always used to ask me, who's your best player, who's your favourite player, and I always used to say Leah Golton. If there's one player who gets me off my seat, who I'm expecting something to happen when she's on the ball, it's Leah Golton, and that's never changed for me. When Leah's on form and she's running at defenders or running from a ball over the top, there's no other player I'd want doing that. But I just think this season there's 5 other players. It looks like there's 5 other players now that's probably just going to be slightly ahead of her. But she still had a great season and one of the best left wingers in the country.
Charlie, Barry, what are you thinking of this one?
I'm going Tooney second, Russo first, I think. Yeah, that's
Barry's got full notes and everything.
But I still
Russo
think,
top, Tooney second.
I still think the England manager needs to be doing everything she can to get Golton to play for England. Still think.
100%.
I don't take this the wrong way. Part of me is pleased she doesn't.
I know she gets a rest, doesn't she?
Yeah, from a pure Selfridge United point of view, I'm glad she doesn't.
I don't think she wants to, does she? I think she's been quite open about that and said she doesn't want it from a mental health point of view. She just wants a break. That means we get the best of her then.
That's a fair point. I just put some of these comments up here. Yeah, so a lot of people.
John's going to scream if Russo gets first.
It's because Ellie said she'll scream if Tooney gets first.
I'll scream if Golton gets first.
It could be anybody. Bo Risa could be top for all you know. Could be absolutely anybody. There's a few players that I think if they, like we said earlier, Mannion I think would be on this list. If she had a full season. Spoiler: she's not in the top 2. So right, let me get my next. I've gone all this way without dropping a spoiler, and there we go.
It's going to be Tooney for 2, isn't it?
So in second place, 4% higher than Honor, so on 22.2. So I will announce. I'll say what the winner's percentage got, but I think people can work it out. So in third place, Honor on 19%. Second place, 22%. First place got 33%. So a bit of a jump from second to first in the end. But second place does go to our number 7, Ella Toon. Barry's going to be very happy because he got his.
Tooney doesn't look happy. Look at that. She's like,
she doesn't.
That's why we got that picture. Just
literally everything is 2s there. Look, 22.2, 2. With the name of 2. You couldn't make it more 2 if you tried.
He
turns around, she's wearing number 2.
Yeah, so obviously our number 7, not number 2, as Barry would like to say. But yeah, 7 goals, 8 assists in the WSL. Phenomenal season. She's played centre forward, she's played false 9, she's played right wing, she's played 10, she's played 8. She's played absolutely everywhere. And yeah, I know people would say she dropped off towards the end of the season, but I mean, look at the numbers she's putting up this season. Absolutely phenomenal. And it's just, yeah.
If I could just jump on that, I'm one of the people who said that she's dropped off. That's why I didn't vote for her to be in the top 2. But only her assists and scoring dropped off. She's still there running with the ball, keeping the ball, playing nice little 1-2s, tracking back, showing a lot of energy here and there. So it's only really her stats. So that's probably like the wrong way of me probably thinking about it. But because she started the season so good at contributing goals in different positions, and obviously cementing a place in the Lionesses squad and even the first 11 at times as well, I think she just set the bar so high that eventually it would have to kind of like level out throughout the season. And I think that's probably what it is, just leveling out. She was massively up here at the start, but then she just come down slightly now. So, finishing second in this team is not bad at all. So, yeah, second, 22.2. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Tooney fully deserving of a second place there. I think she's such an important player for us. I think she makes it really difficult for opposition defenses to cope with her, because she drops deep really well. She picks up the ball. She runs at defenders. Like I said, good 1-2s, no matter who she's playing alongside. Such quick feet as well. Really, really hard to get the ball off her. She's just brilliant. And I think the thing with her, particularly the latter half of the season, is the team dropped off a little bit from an offensive point of view, from an attacking point of view. But we look at Tooney as being like, she's like star girl, isn't she? She is the face of Man United Women. So we're looking to her to, even when the rest of the team's not playing again, to sort it out for us, to win the game. A bit like you see on the men's side as well, when things aren't going so well, you're looking at a particular player, like they should still win it for us. And so, like I think we've said before, the expectation on her is perhaps higher than it is, or greater than it is for others. But like John's right, like if we're saying she didn't have a great second half to the season, but she still scored 7, assisted 8, that's incredible, really. That's incredible numbers for someone who is still incredibly young, who the first season of Man United Women in the WSL didn't play as much probably as she'd liked to, as she would have liked to. If this is a first sort of a second proper full season as being really a starter in the WSL. And I don't think we could have done without her at times this season. I think she's brilliant. John, you talk about Leah Galton as being sort of the player that gets you off your feet. For me personally, that's Tooney. Whenever she receives the ball back to goal or facing goal, I'm convinced something is about to happen, or she's going to try and make something happen. So yeah, I think she's brilliant. I think we're incredibly lucky to have her, and I'm so pleased that she signed a long-term deal.
Yeah, definitely.
Ella Toone, what a legend, eh? 103 games for the club. 3 takeaway 1, 2. So there you go again. Little bit of magic rats for you all now. Listen, she deserves it. She's 100% been one of the top players all season. She's been brilliant for the Lionesses. As I said, she can turn a match with just one move. That's all she needs. I think a lot of it was that she did lose, like half a yard towards the end of the season. But equally, I think other teams knew they had to do something about her. They couldn't just let her roam about. So they had to give a lot more attention to Toone, I think. And that makes such a big difference as well, because if you've got a lot of people then trying to get onto Toone, that made room for other people as well. And that was where we needed some other people, such as Barisa, Zellem and others, to step up. And perhaps it's no surprise that it was Zellem who was more of a playmaker in the second half of the season rather than the first, because she kind of had to take up Tooney's role there, I think. So, yeah, what a legend. Seriously, absolutely adore her. She was my favourite player before I came to watch the matches live, and still one of my favourites now. So, brilliant. Absolutely adore her.
Did you predict Tooney to be second, Valley?
Sorry?
Did you predict Tooney to be second by any chance?
I did.
Let's have a look.
When I made my top 2, there it is.
There it is.
And can I just say, when I did my show for the one for doing my 2, I said it was going to be Russo, Toon, and Battier were my three that I was struggling with. And I cast Battier into third, stuck Tooney second, and put Russo first. So
Barry, did you
So-
put anyone in your top 5 who wasn't in the top 5 at all?
well, only the same way that you did,
Barry.
Charlie.
Barry, show
Only
us.
the same way you did.
No,
You know, that little 8 people
What
in the
is
top
top
5. 8 doesn't go into 5, does it?
It's a shame, Barry. You're going to be wrong for number 1, aren't you?
I doubt it somehow.
Yeah, I can't really add too much to what I put on the tweet. I think she's one of the hardest working players in our squad as well. Even when she's not scoring or assisting, she's the one that's constantly running around trying to press and get the ball back. And yeah, I think she's been absolutely phenomenal. And like I said, considering she's been out of position for most of this season, to step up and do that has been incredible. Yeah. Just for people who have just joined, Sang, I can see you've just joined. I'm going to put the full pie chart on screen just after we do our first place in about 30 seconds time. Because I think it's pretty obvious who has claimed the top spot. I think, to be honest, looking at the votes, I will tell you now, it was pretty obvious from the first week when I started asking people for votes, because she was so far ahead within the first week. I think I messaged John saying this isn't even going to be close. So yeah,
Let's all give it up for Carla Solskjaer.
it did close in a little bit, but in first place, it is Alessia Russo, just shy of 33%. Yes, Barry, you can put your little prediction table down. Yeah, I don't think you can. I think with most of the top 5, you find hard to disagree with. But top scorer, 9 goals, 4 assists in WSL, goals at to knock Arsenal out the Conti Cup, goals at Old Trafford. Considering she was missing for the first few games of the season as well through injury and that kind of thing. Yeah, I think it's hard to look past Russo. And like I said, when the voting came in, nearly every person I asked, because obviously we asked for 2 votes, and on panel shows and things like that, nearly every 2 had Russo in it, and that is why she's come out on top. So just expand on that one, somebody, if you want to jump on that. Russo, top scorer, and she's won our All for United Player of the Season.
Go on,
Silence.
Charlie.
Nobody agrees.
It's going to be no, isn't it? It's kind of like it has. Sorry, Charlie. It's just been so kind of obvious for the whole season. People say, "Oh well, Russo's played," and I think it was just a case of who was your second vote going to go for. I know, kind of, you voted for 2 others, was it? But obviously, you can see there that the majority of the fan base had Russo in there. But Russo's had like a lot. There's been like a lot of stories for Russo throughout the season. As we mentioned earlier, she didn't start the season because of her injury. We then didn't know if she was going to start playing as a centre forward or out wide. Obviously, when Sinja joined us in January, halfway through the season, we didn't know what that actually meant for Russo. And all the way through the season, she managed to produce some fantastic numbers. So, it's not just like an average season for her. She's had a bit of a story throughout her season as well. And she's come through it, and obviously 246 votes, and she's won. So, you can't argue with that.
Yeah, it was a pretty grim injury as well, wasn't it? Like, she was out for a long time.
Yeah.
And she hasn't come back. Like, sometimes when players have been out with a really difficult injury to return from, it can sort of affect them. And we only saw little snippets of her last season when she first joined, and she got a couple of goals and she played quite well. Sometimes when they come back, it can affect them. But she's just built different. I think, Connor, we were saying, like, I can't put my finger on it. She's like we said, you can't at times, like, what she's going to do. Like, defenders know that a lot of the time she's going to have a back to goal and they're going to play the ball to her feet, and she's going to turn you and she's going to run at goal and she's probably going to score. So those things are going to happen. She's going to be on the edge of the 6-yard box for a corner. They're going to aim for her because she's the best one in the air and she's going to get the head on the ball. So all of those things are going to happen as a defensive player. But blimey, can you do anything about it? Absolutely not. Like, there's nothing that can be done. Because she is so good. So a bit like in the words of Rio Ferdinand, like, literally put a blank check on the table in front of her and let her write whatever numbers that she wants. Because again, she is another one who would improve any side that she plays in. And she's world class. She's world class. And we have to make sure that, I hope the board are watching this. I hope we're that good a channel that the board are watching and care that what we're saying. But we need to keep her as well. We need to keep her.
Charlie turning into Rio Ferdinand there, channeling her
Yes.
in a Rio. Like that. Put the contracts on the table. They're right they want. And that turned out brilliantly. I just knew she would. She's just been so good this season. It's nice to see her finally starting to unlock her potential, really, and just become the player that we all know that she can be. It's been a delight to watch her, a delight to see her perform all season and to play as well as she has. Some amazing goals, the equaliser against Everton, and then the 3-1, getting the third one as well in front of the Stretford end. She's a United fan. I mean, what more do you want from her, really? I'll tell you what we want. Double digits next season, please, Leslie. That's what we're after.
Connor, can you just pop up John Commode's comment about wages? Absolutely. Money well spent, that'll be.
Yeah. Either
It
put
would
half
be.
of that towards the transfer budget as well.
Well, yeah.
To do with that. Yeah, John, sorry, I don't know whether you had your say on that one.
Well, I said my bit earlier, but yeah, no surprises. She's by far our best player this season.
Yeah, 100%. I think, like I said, it was pretty obvious to me. Like I said, it was within the first week and a half. Like I said, when I messaged you, John, saying this isn't even going to be close, she was in everyone's two. So yeah, I think deserved winner, as would any of those in the top five. I think. Let's go through some of these comments. I think a few people did call it. Marty there saying called the top four. Let's have a look.
Got the lottery numbers there, Marty, for us all. Because she actually called it she called it every time. If she's available.
Sadly, she does a different lottery to us. So.
John Commode, I hope you did scream. You said you would, so I'd like to have seen that.
Did you not hear him? I heard him all the way down here.
Yeah, so, and yeah, 100% needs to get that extended. I think she will. I don't think there's any worry on that.
Here's a little fun fact for you, just to show how established those five are. Out of the five of them, they've had 356 appearances for Manchester United women. So it just goes to show they're evolving, they're doing well.
Definitely.
Yeah, 100%. Like I said, it was deserved for most of the top. I will just quickly bring the pie chart up for anyone who is interested, just to see how close it was. Bearing in mind, I've just had a double check. Some of the percentages are slightly out by 0.1 or 2 because
recount.
Here we go. I had a couple of late votes and I couldn't be bothered to change the graphics to be
That's outrageous.
But here we go. Let me just make sure I got the right.
I had a couple of late votes. Who were they from?
John Foster.
Well, I didn't know if I was going to be invited onto the show because this has been going for about 4 or 5 weeks now on the Friday Night Fans Forum, so I didn't know if I was going to be.
So some of the percentage points are quite out, but like I say, it doesn't change the vote. So like I was saying earlier, so that's how it adds up to 100% for all you maths people out there that are saying it doesn't add up to 100.
If there's anyone, some of our loyal viewers who are watching right now, who can guess who voted for Maria Thomas not here, just stick it in the comments. We'll know if you're a loyal fan of the show. Because I think there's only 1 or 2.
I'm not going to lie, that one's blown my mind.
Yeah,
she's been brilliant, but as your top two.
I'm sure Stu Woodley was on this show, and he said the very first game we watched, the Reading game, he was like, "That's a footballer. She's a proper footballer." Was it him?
Yeah, it was Stu. Yeah,
Stu. He needs to stick to boots, I think.
Her and Zellum stood out to him on that Reading game. He had his pie, he had his drink.
Yeah.
We thought they're footballers.
You've got a cracking memory, tell you that.
Only for that.
So yeah, a couple of players that missed out there. Like I said, Maria, Hayley Ladd, Leah Galton. Like I said, that's one vote, by the way, between Leah and Katie. So yeah, it was very close. That's
so I've done this. So that's my vote because I was the last one one of the last ones to vote, and I didn't vote Katie, did I?
You didn't vote Katie or Leah. So if somebody would have messaged me that hadn't already voted Leah, it would have been dead level, and I would have had to make a split graphic of 2 people. So I'm kind of glad.
And then there was only one then between Earps and Zellum.
Yes. So that's what I mean. That's
you, Charlie.
Between 4th, 5th.
Yeah, it's me. I went Earpsy and Russo. Yeah.
Oh, Charlie,
you've got Earps to 4.
Zellum's biggest fan the whole season. You've screwed over your old favourite player.
That doesn't mean I think she's been the best
How does
player
that
of the
make you feel,
season.
Charlie?
So there we go. So I will tweet this graphic as well, along with our top 3, just so people can see why the percentages don't add up to 100. Because it was bugging me when I was looking at it. I was like, wait, that's not right.
I'm a maths
something like
teacher,
that.
and it's bugging me.
Yeah, I mean, I can tweet the full.
Fine, it's fine.
I can tweet the full list if you want, TJ. I can tweet you the list if you want them. If you want the full list of people and names and votes and everything like that, I can do all of that as well. So, right, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen because my laptop is boiling hot. It's proper overheating now. I don't know where we end off now, John. Whether you've got anything else.
No, I
lined up?
think obviously we've spent a few weeks kind of like dissecting the end of last season. I think it is kind of time now to look forward to next season. We've got the Euros to look forward to. We've got transfers to look forward to. Hopefully we'll have some contract renewals to look forward to. We've seen a few of the devs leave the club already. Loads of rumours going around Twitter about potential players leaving, and rightly so. It's going to happen, isn't it? That's what United fans do. We love to jump ahead and kind of speculate, and that's absolutely fine. The journalists get on board with that as well now. They never used to, by the way. 4 years ago, before Man United, no one ever predicted or done any of this, but obviously they do now. And but yeah, we all enjoy it. It's all good fun. So hopefully the next 2 or 3 months over the summer can bring us as much excitement off the field as we had on the field.
Yeah, 100%. And I think, John, do you want to shout out the rest of the week?
Yeah,
Schedule.
So Matt's having a week off tomorrow, so it allows me to jump in. So it's still going to be a WFC show. It's going to be my local team, Stourbridge, who won the double this season. So I've got the manager, Andy Fisher, on, and our main centre forward. So that's going to be a good one. That's going to be live tomorrow. So if you want to chat to a tier 4 team, come and join in. It's going to have some fun and games. I'm sure we'll have a few players in the comments as well, giving us some banter. Connor, you're going to be on that one with me, aren't you, I believe?
Yes, sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've got that one on Tuesday. Wednesday, we're going to have a day off. Thursday, we'll be on as normal. Friday, we'll be on. I don't know if it's going to be live or not, but we will have a show on Friday. But I won't be there because I'll be somewhere else. Connor might be with me, but that's a different subject. Yeah, very mysterious. And yeah, there might be a Saturday night live. I'm not too sure. It depends on if Ben and Matt are free on that day. But yeah, still plenty to look forward to, and over the summer as well.
Yeah, 100%. Make sure you stay tuned for all of those. Make sure you're following these lovely people as well. Charlie, Barry, thanks for coming on, as always. Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe. Follow the Twitter account as well. Like I said, I'll tweet all the links out to everything on there as well. And yeah, we'll see you guys very soon.